My beloved child, listen closely, because this message is not arriving by accident. The moment you pressed play, heaven leaned forward. Time itself shifted. Archangel Michael is standing at attention, and his voice carries urgency I cannot soften. Time is running out. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. A decision about your look, your appearance, your presentation, the way you are being seen, is being made right now in heaven. And God says clearly, without confusion, do not delay. This is not a symbolic warning. This is an immediate call. You may feel it already, a strange pressure in your chest, a pull in your spirit, a sense that something invisible is moving around you. That is because a heavenly evaluation is taking place. Angels are not debating your past, they are observing your present. What you choose in this season is shaping how doors will open or close. Archangel Michael says there is a window of mercy, but it is narrowing faster than you realize. This is not just about clothes or style. This is about alignment. Heaven is looking at how you carry yourself, how you show up, how you represent what God has placed inside you. There has been hesitation, delay, overthinking. You knew you needed to change something, but you kept saying, later. God says later is no longer available. The delay has almost cost you an opportunity that was reserved specifically for you. Hear this carefully. Someone else has been watching you, not with human eyes, but with spiritual discernment. Decisions are being drafted in the unseen realm. Assignments are being reassigned. And Archangel Michael warns that indecision is being interpreted as refusal. That is why this message feels intense. It is a final alert, not a gentle reminder. You have been asking God for elevation, for favor, for a shift. But God says elevation requires preparation, and preparation often begins with the outside reflecting the inside. There is a version of you that heaven recognizes, and a version that is outdated. You are still wearing an old season while praying for a new one. That mismatch is what must be corrected immediately. Archangel Michael says, the delay was understandable before, but now it is disobedience. That may sound strong, but it is spoken in love. God is not angry. He is urgent. The clock is moving. There is a meeting, an encounter, a divine connection approaching, and how you appear will determine how seriously you are taken. Heaven is not superficial, but it is intentional. Right now, something is being weighed. Your readiness. You were chosen, but choosing requires response. God is asking, will you move when I prompt you, or will you hesitate until the door closes? This is why the message says open immediately. Not slowly, not cautiously, immediately. You might be thinking, why does this feel so specific? Because it is. This message is not for everyone. It is for the one who has felt stuck, overlooked, delayed, despite being faithful. God says the blockage was not spiritual warfare, it was postponed obedience. Once you act, the resistance will dissolve. Archangel Michael is showing a vision of a scale tipping. On one side is fear, fear of judgment, fear of change, fear of being seen differently. On the other side is obedience. Heaven is waiting to see which side you choose. And this choice must be made now, not after another sign. There is also a warning here. If you ignore this prompting, the opportunity does not disappear forever, but it moves to someone who is ready now. That is not meant to scare you. It is meant to awaken you. God says, I called you because I trust you. Do not make me wait while you negotiate with fear. Something about your look, your presentation, your visibility, your readiness needs immediate adjustment. It could be literal, or it could be deeper. How you show confidence, how you carry authority, how you stop hiding. But whatever it is, you already know. The confirmation you were waiting for is this message. Archangel Michael is not shouting, but his tone is firm. He says, "This is the last gentle knock before action is taken." Heaven is not closing in anger. It is advancing in purpose, and you are meant to move with it. Stay with this message, because what comes next will clarify exactly why this decision cannot wait and what will unlock the moment you obey. This is where everything begins to make sense. Beloved one, let me take you deeper, because what is unfolding now explains the urgency you felt moments ago. The reason heaven is speaking about time is because the sequence has already started. Once a divine sequence begins, it does not pause for human comfort. Archangel Michael reveals that you are standing between two timelines, one where you respond quickly, and another where delay creates unnecessary struggle. God is not threatening you. He is protecting you from regret. There has been a quiet instruction repeated to you in different forms. Sometimes it came as a thought you dismiss. Sometimes as discomfort when you looked at yourself and felt something was off. Sometimes as a nudge to step up, refine, adjust, or show up differently. That was not insecurity. That was alignment calling you forward. Heaven does not correct what it does not plan to use. The attention being placed on your life right now is proof that you are being positioned, not punished. Archangel Michael says something important. When God prepares to elevate someone, he first changes how they are perceived. This includes how you carry yourself, how you present, how you stop shrinking. You were never meant to blend in. Yet you learned to hide because hiding felt safe. God says safety is no longer your assignment. Visibility is. And visibility requires obedience without delay. There is also a spiritual reason for this urgency. The enemy has been watching patterns. Delay has been used against you before. Not because you are weak, but because you are thoughtful. You like to be sure. But now, discernment must turn into action. Archangel Michael says hesitation has been mistaken as uncertainty, and uncertainty has slowed momentum. Heaven is correcting this now by speaking clearly. Let this settle in your spirit. God is not asking you to become someone else. He is asking you to finally agree with who He already says you are. The look under discussion is not vanity. It is agreement. Agreement with authority. Agreement with calling. Agreement with maturity. You cannot step into a new level while still presenting yourself as if you belong to the old one. There is also a witness watching how you respond to this word. Not to judge you, but to confirm readiness. Some doors only open when obedience is immediate. Delayed obedience sends a mixed signal. Archangel Michael warns that heaven is efficient. When readiness is confirmed, movement happens fast. That is why God is saying, do not delay. He is aligning speed with blessing. You may be wondering why this message feels personal, almost confrontational. It is because God is speaking to the version of you that knows better. The version that has grown. The version that has survived too much to keep doubting. This is not about perfection. It is about willingness. Heaven can work with a willing heart instantly. As you continue listening, let this truth anchor you. Nothing is being taken from you. Everything is being prepared for you. But preparation requires response. Archangel Michael shows that once you act, clarity will follow. Peace will follow. Favor will follow. But action comes first this time. If this message is resonating, if you feel that inner confirmation, this is the moment to engage. Let your interaction be a sign of agreement. Like this message so it reaches others who are also standing at a crossroads. Share it with someone who has been stuck between knowing and doing. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing obedience over delay. And if this channel has been a consistent voice of clarity for you, make sure you are subscribed and connected, because what is coming next will build on this foundation in a powerful way. Archangel Michael also emphasizes community. You were not meant to process divine instruction alone. When you engage, when you respond openly, it strengthens your resolve. It breaks isolation. It accelerates understanding. Heaven responds to alignment, and alignment is often confirmed through action. There is more being revealed, and it connects directly to what happens after you obey. The shift does not end with a decision. It begins there. Hold on, because what is about to be uncovered next explains the unseen consequences of saying yes right now versus waiting. This is where the picture becomes unmistakably clear. Chosen one, now you must understand what is truly at stake, because heaven does not release urgency without reason. Archangel Michael reveals that what is being decided right now is not small, and it is not temporary. This decision about your look is directly connected to authority. Authority is not something you demand. It is something that follows alignment. When heaven adjusts how you appear, it is because heaven is about to adjust how you are received. There is a room you are about to enter, figuratively and literally. In that room are people, systems, and opportunities that will not respond to explanations. They will respond to presence. God says presence speaks before words do. That is why delay has been dangerous. Not sinful, but costly. You have been protected so far, but now protection is shifting into promotion, and promotion requires readiness on every level. Archangel Michael shows that heaven has already invested time into you. Seasons of breaking, refining, stretching, and waiting were not wasted. But there is a law in the spirit. Preparation without movement becomes stagnation. God says He is interrupting stagnation right now. That is why this message feels like a push. It is a divine push forward. You are not late. Hear that clearly. You are not behind. But you are at the edge. The edge is where hesitation matters most. One step forward changes everything. One step back prolongs the cycle. God says the grace to linger has expired, not because He is impatient, but because you are ready. There is also something being dismantled. An old identity, an old perception, an old way others have minimized you. Archangel Michael says this change in your look is a signal in the spirit realm. It announces that you have crossed from preparation into assignment. The enemy understands signals. That is why resistance increased when you thought about changing. Resistance is confirmation, not contradiction. God says, do not confuse humility with hiding. You were humble when you waited. Now obedience looks like visibility. You are not being asked to exalt yourself. You are being asked to stop diminishing what God has already endorsed. Heaven does not over-prepare people. If God is pressing you now, it is because the next demand requires it. There is peace on the other side of obedience. Not chaos, not confusion. Peace. The kind of peace that comes when alignment replaces internal conflict. Archangel Michael says once you act, the noise in your mind will quiet. The second guessing will lose its power. Confidence will not feel forced. It will feel natural. This is also a moment of spiritual agreement. Heaven is waiting for your yes. Not a loud yes, not a dramatic one, but a decisive one. A yes that moves. A yes that acts. A yes that does not wait for permission from fear. Let this truth land. God is not asking you to impress people. He is preparing you to represent Him accurately. Representation matters. Ambassadors are trained before they are sent. You are being sent. If you are feeling the weight of this message, that is not condemnation. That is calling. Archangel Michael says weight comes before wings. And you are closer to lift than you think. Now receive this activation with intention. Type "I step forward" in the comments if this message is confirming what your spirit already knows. Blessing code 844 has just been released. As this moment settles in your heart, hear this invitation as part of the same divine flow. I feel the Spirit saying this clearly: what you are receiving here is not meant to stop with you. Light multiplies when it is released. Scripture declares that when a seed is sown, it does not disappear. It breaks open to produce harvest. Right now, God is placing seed in your hands. I am speaking to you directly now. If this word has reached you at the exact moment you needed it, then you are also part of how this word reaches others who are still waiting in silence. When you give, you are not funding a channel, you are fueling a call. Heaven sees generosity as obedience, not charity. Jesus says that whoever gives even a cup of water in His name will not lose their reward, and that promise is alive right now. This message is water to thirsty souls, and your support turns it into a river. Do not hesitate in this moment, because obedience delayed can be a harvest delayed. I speak blessing over every act of support given in faith. May what you release return to you pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Act now. Use super thanks. Step into membership, or so through PayPal. The link is waiting in the description. Obey the nudge. Heaven is watching, and your response is already being recorded. Faithful one, breathe for a moment, because what unfolds now is the hidden consequence of obedience that few are told about. Archangel Michael steps forward again, not with urgency this time, but with clarity. He says that once you move, heaven does not simply respond, it rearranges. Many people think obedience only changes their circumstances, but in truth, it changes their atmosphere. And that is what is happening around you right now. There has been a quiet shift already. Even as you listen, something unseen is adjusting. God is recalibrating timing, connections, and access. This is why you may feel slightly unsettled, as if something familiar is loosening its grip. That is not loss, that is transition. Old comfort zones cannot survive new authority. Heaven is merciful, but it is also precise. Archangel Michael reveals that after obedience, the next test is endurance. Not endurance through pain, but endurance through visibility. When God brings you forward, more eyes will notice you. Some will celebrate. Some will misunderstand. Some will project. This is why the adjustment of your look mattered so much. It was preparation not just for opportunity, but for attention. God says, "You not misinterpret silence as absence." After you obey, there may be a brief quiet. That quiet is not abandonment. It is consolidation. Heaven often grows quiet when things are being sealed. The paperwork of the spirit realm is being finalized. What was discussed is now being signed. There is also a warning wrapped in grace. Do not look back to seek validation from people who were comfortable with your old version. Their confusion does not mean you are wrong. It means you have moved ahead of their understanding. Archangel Michael says forward movement often looks like isolation before it looks like expansion. This is temporary and purposeful. You are also being trained in discernment at a higher level. Before, you needed signs. And now you will need alignment. Not everything that feels good will be good for you. Not every open door will be yours to walk through. God says discernment sharpens after obedience, because obedience clears spiritual fog. Let this settle deeply. The version of you that delayed would have needed constant reassurance. The version of you that obeys will walk with quiet confidence. That confidence is not arrogance, it is rest. Rest that comes from knowing you are where heaven placed you. Archangel Michael also reveals that this season will expose motives, yours and others. This is not to shame, but to refine. God refines those he trusts with influence. Influence is increasing around you, whether you feel ready or not. Heaven does not wait for feelings. It responds to calling. There may be moments soon when you are tempted to rush ahead to prove that you made the right choice. Resist that temptation. God says do not strive to justify obedience. Obedience justifies itself. Fruit will speak louder than explanations ever could. You are also being invited into a new rhythm. Old habits that once fit will begin to feel heavy. Conversations that once energized you may start to drain you. This is not judgment. It is growth. Archangel Michael says when your assignment changes, your appetite changes too. Do not be surprised if opportunities come faster than you expected. That is not chaos. That is compensation. Heaven redeems time. What felt delayed before will now feel accelerated. God says, I am restoring momentum. But momentum requires balance. Move with intention, not anxiety. This is also a season where your words carry more weight. Speak carefully. Bless intentionally. Do not curse seasons you are meant to learn from. The authority being released over your life responds to how you steward language. Archangel Michael emphasizes this strongly. What you speak now has greater impact than before. If at any point you feel overwhelmed, return to this truth. You were not pushed forward randomly. You were sent. Sent implies backing. Sent implies provision. Sent implies protection. Heaven does not send unguarded vessels. There is joy ahead, even if the path feels serious right now. Joy rooted in purpose, not applause. Joy that comes from alignment, not approval. God says laughter will return, but it will sound different, deeper, steadier, freer. As this message continues to unfold, understand that obedience was only the first door. Beyond it are layers of revelation about who walks with you, who learns from you, and who will be changed because you said yes when time was running out. Steady your heart now, because this is where understanding deepens and responsibility sharpens. Archangel Michael speaks again, and his tone carries both assurance and instruction. He says that once obedience is completed, heaven begins to teach you how to sustain what it releases. Many can step into a moment, few know how to remain in it. God is not only opening a door for you, He is training you to live beyond it. You may notice a subtle change in how you respond to situations. Things that once provoked strong emotion may now feel distant. Other things, once insignificant, may suddenly matter deeply. This is not inconsistency. It is recalibration. Heaven is tuning your sensitivity so you can recognize what belongs in this next season and what does not. Growth often feels like disorientation before it feels like clarity. Archangel Michael reveals that one of the greatest challenges ahead will be resisting the urge to explain yourself. When God elevates someone, the instinct to justify decisions often rises. But God says explanation gains authority. You are not required to narrate your obedience. Those who are meant to understand will understand in time. Those who are not do not need convincing. There is also an increase in spiritual awareness happening now. You may begin to sense when conversations are misaligned, when environments are heavy, when opportunities are premature. This awareness is not meant to isolate you. but to guide you. Heaven is teaching you discernment not through fear, but through peace. When peace leaves, pay attention. When peace remains, proceed. God is also addressing something internal, your relationship with timing. Before, waiting felt like delay. Now, waiting will feel intentional. Archangel Michael says obedience has repositioned you into God's pace. God's pace is not rushed, but it is never stagnant. You will move when heaven moves and rest when heaven rests. This rhythm will protect you from burnout and confusion. Do not be surprised if certain people begin to drift away naturally. This is not rejection. It is redirection. Alignment changes proximity. God says He is removing you from environments that can no longer sustain what He is building in you. This removal may feel quiet, even gentle, but it is deliberate. There is also a strengthening of boundaries taking place. You will find it easier to say no without guilt. Not because you care less, but because you understand value more clearly. Archangel Michael emphasizes that boundaries are not walls, they are gates. Gates allow what belongs to enter and keep what does not outside. You are learning to steward access. Another truth you must hold firmly: obedience does not eliminate challenge. It redefines it. Challenges ahead will not be about survival. They will be about stewardship. Can you manage attention without pride? Can you handle opportunity without anxiety? Can you walk in authority without losing humility? These are the questions heaven is refining in you. God says you are being trusted with more influence than you realize. Influence does not always look like a platform. Sometimes it looks like presence. People will watch how you respond under pressure. They will notice how you carry peace when others panic. This is ministry in its purest form. Archangel Michael also reveals that your prayers are changing. You will pray less out of desperation and more out of alignment. Your words will feel simpler but more powerful. You will no longer beg for what God has already assigned. Instead, you will declare what heaven has already decided. There may be moments when you feel tempted to revisit old patterns for comfort. Resist that gently, not forcefully. God says you do not need to fight the old season. You have outgrown it. Growth does not require conflict. It requires acceptance. Rest is also being redefined for you. Rest will no longer mean escape. It will mean trust. Trust that things continue to move even when you pause. Archangel Michael says this rest is a sign of maturity. Children strive, heirs rest. As you move forward, remember this anchor. Obedience positions you, but faith will sustain you. Faith not as emotion, but as consistency. Continue to show up. Continue to adjust when prompted. Continue to listen. Heaven speaks often, but it whispers to those who remain attentive. What lies ahead is not a test of worth, but a demonstration of readiness. You have been prepared more than you know. And as the path unfolds further, you will begin to see why this moment, this decision, this shift, could not wait another day. Beloved soul, now comes a moment of sharpening, because Archangel Michael says this stage determines how firmly you stand in what has been given. Obedience opened the door, alignment stabilize you, and now wisdom must anchor you. Heaven is not only concerned with where you arrive, but with how you remain. This is where many lose ground, not because they disobeyed, but because they became careless after the shift. You are entering a phase where subtle distractions will try to compete with divine focus. Not obvious sins, not dramatic detours, but small compromises of attention. Archangel Michael warns that the enemy often attacks momentum through busyness. When life suddenly fills up, when opportunities multiply, when people demand more access to you, it can feel productive while quietly draining discernment. God says productivity without presence leads to confusion. There will be moments when you are tempted to rush decisions simply because you are no longer used to being in demand. Slow down internally, even when things move quickly externally. Heaven's speed is never anxious. If peace is missing, pause. If clarity feels forced, wait. God is training you to value stillness as much as action. You may also notice a new seriousness settling over you. Not heaviness, but gravity. You are beginning to understand that your choices affect more than just you. Words spoken casually can now carry weight. Decisions made privately can ripple publicly. This awareness is not meant to burden you, but to mature you. Archangel Michael says maturity is recognizing impact before consequence arrives. God is also correcting how you interpret resistance. Resistance does not always mean stop. Sometimes it means strengthen. When you encounter pushback now, do not immediately retreat. Ask instead, what is this teaching me? Heaven often uses friction to fortify resolve. You are learning not just to move, but to stand. There is another layer being revealed: stewardship of attention. People will listen to you more carefully now. Some will seek advice. Some will project expectations. Some will place you on a pedestal you never asked for. God says, do not accept improper elevation. Remain grounded. Authority is safest when it stays connected to humility. Archangel Michael emphasizes the importance of community alignment in this season. Not everyone who celebrates your rise is assigned to walk with you long term. Discern companionship carefully. God often sends confirmers before he sends collaborators. Do not rush intimacy. Let trust build through consistency, not excitement. You may feel moments of loneliness even while being surrounded by people. This is normal. Growth often creates internal separation before external alignment catches up. God says, do not interpret this as isolation. It is incubation. What is forming in you requires quiet to mature fully. There is also a refining of your motivation taking place. Before, you may have moved out of necessity. Now you will move out of purpose. This shift can feel unfamiliar. You are no longer reacting to lack. You are responding to calling. The change requires a new mindset. Archangel Michael says you are learning to choose intentionally rather than urgently. As this message reaches you, let it not just inform you but activate you. Engage with it. If these words are strengthening you, let that agreement be visible. Like this message, so it continues reaching those who need confirmation. Share it with someone who is stepping into responsibility and needs clarity. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing wisdom over haste. And if this channel has been a steady source of spiritual alignment for you, stay connected. Subscribe so you remain positioned to receive what is released next. Join the community intentionally, because consistency is how revelation compounds. This is not about algorithms alone. It is about agreement. Archangel Michael offers this reminder gently, but firmly. What you feed will grow. Feed fear, and it will demand control. Feed faith, and it will produce peace. Feed confusion, and it will multiply questions. Feed truth, and it will bring rest. Choose carefully what you give your attention to in this season. There will be opportunities soon that look good but feel slightly off. Trust that feeling. You do not need to grab everything that shines. God says discernment will protect you from detours that look like blessings but lead to delay. You are allowed to say no without explanation. Your confidence will continue to deepen, not through applause, but through alignment. Each right decision reinforces identity. Each moment of restraint strengthens authority. Heaven is watching not just what you do, but how you decide. Stay present. Stay prayerful. Stay responsive. What is unfolding next will test not your obedience, but your consistency. And consistency, Archangel Michael says, is what transforms calling into legacy. Chosen vessel, now the message turns inward, because Archangel Michael says the next work of heaven is happening beneath the surface. Up to this point, much of the instruction had been about movement, positioning, and response. But now God is addressing the inner posture that must match the outer alignment. Without this, even the right actions can feel heavy. Heaven does not want you burdened. It wants you rooted. You may notice that memories from past seasons are surfacing unexpectedly. Old conversations, old disappointments, old versions of yourself you thought you had already outgrown. This is not regression. This is review. God is allowing these memories to rise not to pull you back, but to release final residue. Archangel Michael explains that elevation often stirs unfinished emotions so they can be healed at the root. Do not be alarmed if emotions feel closer to the surface. Sensitivity is increasing, not weakness. When authority grows, so does awareness. You are becoming more conscious of what is happening within you, because inner clarity is required for external consistency. God says unresolved pain can distort discernment, and He is too invested in your future to allow that. This is also a season of forgiveness, but not the kind that is rushed or forced. Forgiveness here is clarity, seeing things as they were, not as they should have been. Releasing expectations that were never meant to be fulfilled by certain people. Archangel Michael says forgiveness is not about excusing others. It is about freeing yourself from carrying what no longer belongs to you. You are being taught to separate identity from experience. What happened to you did not define you. What you survived did not limit you. In fact, it prepared you. God says the very areas where you felt overlooked are now the places where wisdom flows most naturally. Nothing was wasted. There is also a healing happening around comparison. Before, you may have measured your progress against others and felt behind. Now, that urge is dissolving. You are beginning to recognize that your path was intentionally different. Comparison fades when calling becomes clear. Archangel Michael says clarity eliminates envy without effort. As this internal work continues, your reactions will change. You will pause where you once reacted. You will listen where you once defended. You will respond with calm where you once felt pressure. This is not passivity. It is strength under control. Heaven calls this maturity. God is also restoring trust in your own discernment. There were times you doubted yourself because others questioned you. Times you second-guessed decisions because you wanted peace with people more than alignment with truth. That season is ending. Archangel Michael says self-trust returns when obedience is practiced consistently. You are learning that hearing God does not require external approval. There may be moments when you grieve what could have been if others had met you where you were. Let yourself feel that grief without judgment. Grief does not cancel gratitude. It simply acknowledges reality. God says He is close to you in these moments, not disappointed. Healing often comes quietly, not dramatically. This is also a season where your inner voice will soften. Harsh self-talk will lose its grip. You will no longer need to motivate yourself through pressure. Purpose will become motivation enough. Archangel Michael notes that when identity stabilizes, striving fades. Be attentive to restlessness. If it appears, do not ignore it, but do not obey it either. Restlessness now is often a signal to pray, not to move. God may be inviting you to sit with Him, not to search for the next step. Silence will become instructive. You are also learning to receive without suspicion. In the past, help may have come with conditions, so you learn to be cautious. Now, God is teaching you that provision can come cleanly. Support can come without strings. Favor can arrive without debt. This will feel unfamiliar at first. Let it. Archangel Michael says the work happening now is deep and lasting. This is not a surface adjustment. This is foundation strengthening. Buildings rise only as high as foundations allow. Heaven is reinforcing yours so that what is built next will not crack under pressure. As you move forward, keep honoring this inner work. Do not rush it. Do not minimize it. Outer success without inner peace is not promotion. It is pressure. God desires both for you. What is coming next will involve interaction with others at a higher level. Decisions, conversations, and responsibilities will require emotional steadiness. This season is preparing you for that. You are not being delayed. You are being fortified. Remain open. Remain honest. Remain still when prompted. Archangel Michael assures you that this inward alignment is the final preparation before something visibly shifts around you. And when it does, you will be ready, not just to step into it, but to remain there with grace. Beloved of God, now the atmosphere changes again, because Archangel Michael says you have entered a moment of confirmation. What was prepared in silence is about to be acknowledged in the open. This is not exposure for spectacle, but recognition for alignment. Heaven never affirms what it has not first refined, and you have been refined more deeply than you realize. There is a divine exchange happening now. God is removing the last traces of hesitation and replacing them with quiet authority. You may notice that situations which once intimidated you no longer carry the same weight. This is not because the situations became smaller, but because your capacity expanded. Archangel Michael says expansion often feels subtle internally before it becomes visible externally. You are stepping into rooms, literal or symbolic, where your presence will be felt immediately. Not because you announce yourself, but because alignment announces you. God says there is a fragrance on obedience that cannot be replicated by effort. People will sense stability, wisdom, and clarity around you, even if they cannot explain why. This season will also test how you handle affirmation. Compliments may come. Recognition may increase. Resist the urge to deflect what God is allowing. False humility can be just as limiting as pride. Receive affirmation without attaching your identity to it. Archangel Michael reminds you that praise is safest when it passes through you, not when it settles on you. There will also be moments of spiritual contrast. You will clearly see the difference between who you were and who you are becoming. This may bring gratitude, but it may also bring grief for time lost. God says do not mourn what taught you. Every delay refined discernment. Every mistake sharpened wisdom. Nothing is wasted in the hands of God. Archangel Michael reveals that some people will approach you differently now. Their tone may change. Their expectations may shift. Do not be unsettled by this. Authority alters dynamics. Remain kind but firm. Open but discerning. You are not required to shrink to preserve familiarity. This is also a season where obedience produces momentum. One aligned decision will unlock another. What once felt complicated will begin to simplify. God says clarity multiplies when action and alignment walk together. Continue responding promptly when nudged. Heaven is moving with you now. You may also sense an increased responsibility toward others. Not to carry them, but to guide them wisely. People will look to you for perspective, not because you have all the answers, but because you ask the right questions. Archangel Michael says wisdom is often recognized through restraint, not instruction. As this part of the message lands, pause and acknowledge how far you have come. The urgency that once felt heavy now feels purposeful. The pressure has transformed into clarity. That is a sign of alignment. Heaven is pleased with your response. Now seal this moment with intention. Type "I am aligned" in the comments if this message confirms what God is doing in you right now. Blessing code 1296 has just been activated. Hear this carefully as the Spirit continues to speak. What you are receiving right now is part of a larger work. God never pours revelation without also providing a way to release it forward. I am speaking to you personally in this moment. If this word has strengthened you, it is because you were meant to help strengthen others. Scripture declares that those who sow generously will reap generously, and this is not theory. It is spiritual law in motion. When you support this work, you are not giving to a channel. You are partnering with heaven to reach souls who are still waiting for clarity. Light spreads when those who receive it choose to release it. This message carries oil, and oil is meant to flow. Your act of support becomes a prophetic response, not a transaction. Do not delay if you feel that inner prompting. Obedience in giving carries acceleration with it. I speak blessing over every seed sown in faith. May doors open, timing align, and provision multiply as you respond. You super thanks. Step into membership or give through PayPal. The link is placed in the description for this moment. Act now. Release the seed. Heaven honors swift obedience, and your response is part of the testimony God is writing. Beloved child, now the message becomes steadier, because Archangel Michael says you are no longer approaching the shift. You are living inside it. What once felt prophetic now feels practical. What once felt distant now feels daily. This is how you know the transition is real. Heaven does not keep announcing what has already been activated. It simply begins to unfold it. You may notice that life has not suddenly become dramatic or loud. In fact, it may feel surprisingly normal on the surface. That is intentional. God often hides his greatest movements inside ordinary days so they can be sustained long-term. Archangel Michael says permanence is built quietly. Flashy moments impress people, but steady alignment transforms lives. There is a new firmness in your decisions now. You are no longer asking as many people for confirmation. You are listening more closely to what settles in your spirit. This is growth. God says when dependence on external voices decreases, intimacy with him increases. You are learning to trust the inner witness without arrogance and without fear. This season will require discernment around pace. Some days will feel full and productive. Other days will feel slow, even empty. Do not misinterpret slower days as regression. They are often integration days. Heaven uses them to help you absorb what has already changed. Archangel Michael reminds you that even the land rests between harvests. There is also a purification of desire happening. Things you once chased no longer excite you. Goals that once motivated you now feel shallow. This does not mean you lack ambition. It means your ambition has matured. God is redirecting your hunger toward things that last. Toward impact, not image. Toward depth and not noise. You may also experience moments of spiritual clarity that arrive suddenly. Insights that come without effort. Understanding that feels downloaded rather than learned. This is not coincidence. Alignment reduces interference. When the signal is clear, revelation flows easily. Archangel Michael says heaven speaks more when it does not have to compete with inner conflict. Be mindful in this season of what you tolerate. Tolerance is often confused with patience, but they are not the same. Patience weighs with wisdom. Tolerance accepts what should be addressed. God says you are now responsible for correcting what you once endured. Not aggressively, but clearly. Boundaries will protect what obedience unlocked. There may be moments when you feel misunderstood. Not rejected, just misread. People may assume things about you that are not true. Resist the urge to correct every perception. God says clarity does not come from explanation, it comes from consistency. Let time reveal what words cannot. Archangel Michael also brings reassurance. You are not behind schedule. Heaven does not measure progress the way humans do. Some of the most significant advancement happens invisibly. Roots deepen underground before branches stretch upward. What is forming now will support weight later. Trust the process you cannot yet see. You are also being taught how to carry authority gently. Authority does not require force. It requires presence. You will notice that when you speak calmly, others listen more closely. When you remain steady, chaos around you settles faster. This is leadership shaped by alignment, not control. God is also recalibrating how you respond to success. When things go well now, you will feel gratitude instead of adrenaline, relief instead of pride, peace instead of pressure. Archangel Michael says this is a sign that striving has lost its grip. You are learning to receive without attaching your worth to outcomes. Do not be surprised if old fears try to resurface briefly. Fear often makes a final appearance before losing access completely. When it does, acknowledge it without engaging it. You no longer need to argue with what no longer has authority. Fear shrinks when it is not fed. This is also a season of subtle favor. Not dramatic breakthroughs, but timely help. Right conversations. Unexpected cooperation. Smooth resolutions. These are signs of alignment, not luck. God says favor follows obedience quietly, but consistently. Pay attention to gratitude. Gratitude will become your anchor. When you thank God for small confirmations, your awareness sharpens. You begin to recognize how often heaven is intervening on your behalf. Archangel Michael says gratitude keeps the heart soft while authority increases. As you continue forward, remain teachable. Confidence does not cancel humility. In fact, true confidence deepens it. God will continue to refine you, not to humble you, but to prepare you for longevity. What lasts is built on teachability. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are walking in assignment. This does not mean every step will be clear, but it means every step will be guided. Trust what is forming. Trust what is unfolding. Trust the God who spoke urgency because he saw readiness. What comes next will require you to engage more openly, not just internally. Your voice, your agreement, and your consistency will matter. The next unfolding will invite response, not just reflection. Stay present, because the direction heaven gives next will require your active participation. My beloved one, now comes a moment of participation, because Archangel Michael says this season will no longer allow passive faith. What God has activated in you requires engagement, not observation. You are no longer standing on the edge watching what heaven might do. You are walking inside what heaven has already begun. And participation is how alignment becomes fruit. There is a shift happening in how responsibility feels to you. Before, responsibility felt heavy, like pressure to perform. Now it feels purposeful, like stewardship. This is a critical difference. Pressure drains life. Stewardship multiplies it. God says he is not asking you to prove anything. He is inviting you to partner with what he is doing. Archangel Michael reveals that your obedience has positioned you as a witness, not a preacher in words alone, but a testimony in motion. People around you are watching how you handle change, how you respond to clarity, how you move without rushing. Your consistency is speaking louder than explanations ever could. This is why engagement matters now. When you respond openly to what God is doing, it strengthens your alignment. Faith grows when it is expressed. Agreement deepens when it is declared. Heaven pays attention to movement, not just intention. You may feel a renewed desire to be connected, to be part of something that feeds your spirit regularly. That desire is not emotional. It is strategic. God often anchors people in places where they will continue to be sharpened. Isolation weakens discernment. Connection reinforces it. If this message has been walking with you through these moments of clarity, let that connection be intentional. Engage with it. Let your agreement be visible. Like this message so it continues reaching those who are still questioning their timing. Share it with someone who feels the same urgency but hasn't understood why yet. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing alignment over hesitation. And if you have not yet committed to staying connected, now is the time. Subscribe so you remain positioned to receive what is released next. This is not about numbers. It is about consistency. Heaven moves through patterns, and consistency keeps you aligned with the flow of revelation. Archangel Michael also reminds you that encouragement is a form of ministry. When you engage, you are not just responding for yourself, you are strengthening others. Someone else sees your comment and finds confirmation. Someone else sees your agreement and feels less alone. God uses simple actions to create ripple effects. There is also a warning wrapped in wisdom here. Do not consume without contributing. Consumption without contribution leads to stagnation. God designed spiritual growth to be participatory. When you give attention, agreement, and support, what you receive takes deeper root. This season will reward those who stay engaged. Not sporadically but consistently. Archangel Michael says consistency is what turned the moments into momentum. You are not meant to visit alignment occasionally. You are meant to live there. You may also notice that your discernment sharpens further as you engage. Confusion fades faster. Doubt loses its grip more quickly. This is because agreement strengthens clarity. Heaven responds to alignment with more direction. Before you move on from this moment, pause internally and acknowledge what God has already done. Gratitude seals growth. Thank Him for the clarity. Thank Him for the urgency. Thank Him for not allowing you to miss the window. Gratitude keeps your heart receptive. Hold on to this message, because what comes next will challenge you in a different way. Not with urgency, but with opportunity. Not with warning, but with invitation. And how you respond to that invitation will shape the next phase of what God releases. Stay present. Stay engaged. This is where things begin to accelerate in ways you did not expect, and you will want to be fully aware when it happens. Beloved child, now the tone softens but the depth increases because Archangel Michael says this stage is about stabilization. What has accelerated must now be anchored. Heaven never rushes foundations, even when momentum is strong. This is where wisdom settles into habit and alignment becomes lifestyle, not effort. You may notice that the excitement of the shift has quieted. That is not a loss of fire. It is the settling of flame into steady heat. God says emotional intensity is not required to sustain divine purpose. What lasts is built on consistency, not adrenaline. You are learning how to carry purpose without needing constant confirmation. This is also where trust deepens. Not just trust in God, but trust in the process He has you in. You are no longer asking, "Is this real?" You are asking, "How do I steward this well?" That question marks maturity. Archangel Michael says stewardship is the language of those who are prepared to go the distance. There may be a temptation now to look for the next big sign. Resist that gently. Signs are given to point direction, not to replace faith. God says He has already spoken clearly. Now He is watching how you live with what you heard. Obedience that continues after the excitement fades is the obedience that heaven celebrates. You are also learning restraint. Not everything needs to be shared. Not every revelation needs to be announced. Some things are meant to grow in silence. Archangel Michael says secrecy is not hiding when it is guided by wisdom. Protection often looks like privacy before it looks like expansion. This season will also bring a deeper awareness of timing. You will sense when to speak and when to remain silent, when to move and when to wait. This discernment will feel natural, not forced. God says timing is a gift that grows sharper with use. The more you honor it, the clearer it becomes. There is a strengthening of patience happening now. Not the patience that tolerates delay, but the patience that trusts process. You are no longer in a hurry to arrive, because you understand that arrival is not a moment, but a responsibility. Archangel Michael notes that patience protects purpose from premature exposure. You may also feel less reactive to external opinions. Praise will not inflate you. Criticism will not derail you. This emotional steadiness is not detachment. It is grounding. God says when identity stabilizes, opinions lose power. This is also a season where your inner life becomes richer. Prayer may feel simpler but deeper. Silence may feel more comfortable. You may find joy in moments that once felt ordinary. These are signs that peace is taking root. Heaven values peace as much as power. Be mindful not to romanticize past struggles. Growth can sometimes create nostalgia for seasons that felt familiar, even if they were painful. Archangel Michael warns that familiarity can disguise itself as comfort. Do not look back to what God has already closed. Honor it, learn from it, but do not revisit it. There is also an invitation here to remain teachable. Elevation does not eliminate learning, it increases it. God will continue to refine you through experiences, relationships, and quiet corrections. Correction is not rejection. It is investment. Heaven corrects what it intends to keep. You are becoming more aware of your limits, and that awareness is healthy. You do not need to say yes to everything. You do not need to prove availability. God says sustainability matters more than speed. Burnout helps no one. Rest is part of obedience now. Archangel Michael also highlights this truth. You are no longer preparing for something coming. You are living inside what was promised. That realization may take time to fully settle. Give yourself grace as you adjust. New seasons require new mindsets. As this part concludes, hold firmly to this understanding. Urgency brought you here, but wisdom will keep you here. What God is building through you is meant to last, not just impress. And longevity requires grounding, patience, and continued alignment. What remains now is the sealing. Not a new instruction, but a confirmation. Not a push forward, but a covering. What comes next will not introduce something unfamiliar. It will affirm what has already been forming. Stay receptive. Stay steady. The final release is approaching, and it will bring closure, blessing, and clarity to everything that has been unfolding. My beloved child, now we arrive at the ceiling, because Archangel Michael says this is the moment where heaven completes what it began. What started as urgency has matured into authority. What felt like pressure has settled into peace. and what once demanded immediate action now stands established. This is how you know the process was real. Heaven does not rush conclusions. It confirms them. There is a final truth being impressed upon your spirit now. You did not miss your moment. You responded. You aligned. You moved when time was running out. And because of that, God says the decision that was being made about you in heaven hath been settled in your favor. Not because of perfection, but because of obedience. Archangel Michael reveals that the scrutiny has ended. The weighing has finished. What remains is covering. You are being covered for longevity, not just breakthrough. This means storms may still come, but they will not uproot you. Challenges may still arise, but they will not confuse you. Heaven has stabilized what it elevated. You may notice a new calm confidence in yourself. Not loud, not performative. Quiet, steady, grounded. This is not personality change. It is identity alignment. You are no longer asking who you are becoming. You know. And that knowing brings rest. God says something important here. The urgency was never meant to live forever. The urgency was a doorway, not a residence. Now that you have stepped through it, you are invited into trust. Trust that heaven will continue to guide you. Trust that obedience trains your discernment. Trust that you do not need constant alarms to stay aligned. There is also a release happening now. Release from self-pressure. Release from fear of falling behind. Release from the need to constantly evaluate yourself. Archangel Michael says evaluation hath been replaced with establishment. You are planted. You may still grow. You may still stretch. But growth now will feel rooted, not frantic. God says frantic movement belongs to uncertainty. Steady movement belongs to calling. You are walking in calling. As this message completes, understand this clearly. The look heaven was concerned about was never just external. It was how you carry yourself spiritually, how you see yourself, how you agree with God about who you are. That agreement has been reached. There is joy ahead, not shallow happiness but deep assurance. The kind that allows you to face the future without anxiety. The kind that lets you rest even when answers are still unfolding. Archangel Michael says this is the reward of alignment. Now seal this word with intention. Type I am sealed in the comments if you receive this completion in your spirit. Blessing code 2025 has now been released. And as this final word settles, hear this as part of the same divine moment. I am speaking to you directly now, heart to heart. What you have just received did not come from effort alone. It flowed from obedience, prayer, and spiritual labor. And God never releases living water without inviting it to become a river. Scripture says that when seed is sown into good ground, it multiplies beyond what was released. Right now, you are that good ground. And if this message has strengthened you, it is because God intends it to strengthen many others through you. This is not about supporting a platform. This is about sustaining a mission. I feel the Spirit saying this clearly. This is your moment to respond, not later, not eventually, but now. When you give, you are not donating, you are obeying. You are placing seed into fertile soil so that more souls can hear what you heard at the exact moment they need it. I speak blessing over every giver, every supporter, every obedient response. May what you release come back multiplied in peace, clarity, provision, and favor. Act now. You super thanks. Step into membership. Sow through PayPal. The link is waiting in the description. Do not delay. Complete the cycle. Heaven honors decisive obedience, and your response today is part of the testimony God is sealing.